In the far reaches of space, beyond the familiar star systems and known galaxies, a small human exploration crew embarked on a mission that no one else had dared to undertake. Their destination was an uncharted planet, one that had appeared on the radar only recently, and though it was thought to be barren, something about it seemed strange. The planet, called Veric 7, had a deep, mysterious pull that caught the attention of the Earth Exploration Federation. The crew was a mix of scientists, engineers, and soldiers, all eager for the potential discoveries waiting on the uninhabited world. They landed their small craft with precision, the humming of the engines growing quiet as they set foot on the alien soil. The sky above was a deep shade of orange, the air thin but breathable, and the ground was covered in rocky formations and scattered ruins. "We need to stay alert," Commander Ryan Miller, the leader of the crew, called out as he surveyed the landscape. "Stay close and keep your scanners running. Something's off about this place." The crew nodded and began to spread out, carefully exploring the area. The planet had been silent, untouched by civilization for centuries, but it held an eerie, quiet atmosphere. As they ventured further into the rocky hills, the first signs of what seemed to be a long-forgotten structure emerged from the dust and decay. The stone pillars were tall and weathered, standing as silent sentinels to an ancient past. Dr. Lena Williams, the lead archaeologist, adjusted her glasses as she examined the ruins. This could be it," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "This is not just a natural formation. It looks like the remains of a long-lost civilization." The team approached the structure cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the stillness of the alien world. The stone walls, though crumbling, held symbols that none of them had ever seen before. Intricate patterns decorated the surfaces. Some appeared to be maps, while others seemed to tell a story in an unknown language. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Williams said, as she carefully ran her fingers over one of the carvings. "This isn't just an old ruin. This was built by an intelligent species. We may have just found something far older than our history." Commander Miller gestured for the team to set up their equipment. "Get everything scanned. I want a full readout on this place." His mind was racing. Could this be the remnants of an alien species, a race that had disappeared long before humanity even began to look to the stars? The possibilities were overwhelming. As the team worked, Lieutenant Sarah Barnes, the engineer, moved toward a set of what looked like large alien doors, half covered in dust and debris. Her scanner beeped as she carefully examined the entrance. "There's something behind these doors," she said, her voice tinged with surprise. "It's still active." Without wasting any time, Barnes worked to unlock the mechanism. The air seemed to vibrate with energy as the doors groaned open, revealing the darkened interior. The team stepped forward, and their flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing a massive chamber hidden deep within the structure. "What is this place?" Sergeant Tom Harris whispered, his voice carrying a mix of awe and fear. The room was filled with strange machines, towering structures that hummed with a faint, eerie light. On the far side of the room, an object stood out, a large metallic pod, partially buried in the dust. It looked out of place, as if it had been sealed away for countless years. Dr. Williams approached the pod, her heart racing. "This could be it," she whispered. "This might be the key to understanding what happened to this civilization. It's possible that this pod holds the last remnants of their people." Commander Miller stepped closer. "Do you think we should open it?" His voice was filled with hesitation, knowing that whatever was inside could hold answers or danger. Lena paused, thinking for a moment. "I believe we must. Whatever happened to this race, they left something behind. This could be the most important discovery humanity has ever made." With a deep breath, Miller nodded. "All right, let's open it carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with here." The team worked together, using their tools to open the pod. The metal casing cracked open with a loud hiss, releasing a faint smell of stale air. As the lid lifted, the team gasped in shock. Inside the pod was an alien figure, preserved in a state of stasis, its body frozen in time. The alien was unlike any creature they had seen before. It was small, fragile-looking, with large, round eyes that had a soft glow to them. Its skin was a pale blue, and it wore what appeared to be a simple tunic, decorated with strange symbols similar to the ones found on the walls. Lena gasped, This is a living being. We found one. A survivor." The crew stared at the alien in disbelief. For centuries, they had thought the universe was empty of intelligent life beyond humans. Yet, here they were, standing before the last remnant of a civilization long forgotten. Commander Miller's mind raced as he looked at the alien. They had discovered something unimaginable, a forgotten race, hidden away for countless years, and now humanity was their savior. Would the alien be able to communicate? Would it be willing to trust them? As the team carefully began the process of awakening the alien, they knew this was just the beginning of a discovery that would change the course of their future, and perhaps the future of the universe itself. As the days passed on the desolate planet, the human crew continued to study the alien pod. The small figure inside was carefully examined, its delicate form showing signs of age, but also resilience. Dr. Lena Williams, the lead archaeologist, was the most excited about their discovery. She had studied ancient civilizations her entire life, but this was something far beyond her wildest expectations. She gathered the crew around the pod, her voice filled with awe. "This is extraordinary. We've found an actual member of an alien race. This isn't just a relic. This is living proof that another intelligent species existed in the galaxy, and now we have the chance to understand them." Commander Ryan Miller nodded, his mind focused. He knew the discovery was monumental, but the reality of dealing with an alien life form was starting to settle in. "How do we wake them up?" he asked, glancing at Dr. Williams. He trusted her knowledge, but this was uncharted territory for them all. "I've been studying the pod systems," said Lieutenant Sarah Barnes, the ship's engineer. "It looks like a type of cryogenic stasis chamber, similar to the ones used in deep space travel, but with advanced technology I've never seen before. We should be able to safely bring them out of stasis, but we have to proceed carefully." Lena's heart raced as she watched Sarah work. This was her dream come true, but the weight of responsibility rested heavily on her shoulders. They were about to wake up a creature who had been frozen for centuries, perhaps millennia. They didn't know how it would react, what it might be capable of, or even if it could survive outside the pod. "Do we have any idea what this being is?" Commander Miller asked, his voice steady but full of curiosity. Lena shook her head. "We can't make assumptions. This species could be completely different from anything we've seen in our studies. From the ruins we've uncovered, it seems their civilization was more advanced than ours, but we don't know what caused their downfall." As Barnes began to activate the systems to safely revive the alien, the crew stood by in silence. The ship's medical scanners were running, ensuring that the alien's vitals were stable. It felt as though time had slowed. They were about to witness history unfold in real time. With a soft hum, the pod's internal lights flickered, signaling that it was coming online. The lid of the pod creaked open, and the crew held their breath, waiting. Slowly, the alien's eyes opened, glowing faintly in the dim light. The crew stared in stunned silence as they saw the alien's large, round eyes blink as though adjusting to the new surroundings. The skin, a pale blue, shimmered slightly, almost as if it were alive with some internal energy. The alien's first movements were slow, almost hesitant. It looked around, clearly confused, taking in its new environment. Its small hands gripped the edge of the pod, and it sat up, but there was a sense of fragility in its movements. The crew exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what to expect next. "Hello." Dr. Williams spoke softly, trying to make the alien feel less threatened. She knew the importance of first contact and wanted to convey peace. "We are humans. My name is Dr. Lena Williams. Can you understand us?" The alien's eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, there was a silence that hung heavy in the air. Then, in a voice that was soft but clear, it spoke, though the words were unlike anything the humans had ever heard before. The sound was melodic, yet alien. Lena quickly glanced at the translator device that Lieutenant Barnes had set up. "Can you repeat that?" she asked, hoping the translator would catch something useful. The translator beeped and slowly processed the strange language. After a tense moment, it spoke back in a voice that sounded almost broken but understandable. "I am Lyra. Who are you?" The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. The alien had communicated with them, and while they still had a long way to go, the first step had been taken. Lena smiled gently, not wanting to startle Lyra. "We are explorers from Earth," she explained. "We've found your ship, and we believe you are the last of your kind. You've been in stasis for a very long time." Lyra's eyes widened slightly at the words. She seemed to process them carefully. "The last." Her voice trembled, as if the realization was a heavy burden. "We lost everything." Lena could feel the sadness in Lyra's words, and her heart went out to the alien. She had read about the tragedies of other races, but to be in the presence of one who had witnessed the fall of an entire civilization was something entirely different. "We want to help," Lena said softly, her voice full of sincerity. "We don't know everything about your people yet, but we want to understand. You're not alone anymore." Lyra seemed to consider this, her glowing eyes looking into Lena's with a mix of wariness and cautious hope. "Why? Why did you come? This place is forgotten." Commander Miller stepped forward, his tone steady but firm. "We didn't come to harm you. We came to learn. There's so much we don't understand about your people, and we want to help protect what's left of your legacy." The alien stared at them for a long moment, her small chest rising and falling as she took in the words. Finally, she spoke, her voice fragile yet determined. "I will trust you, but you must know, there is much danger. Not all is as it seems." The crew exchanged concerned glances. The story of the forgotten alien race was just beginning, and they had no idea what kind of challenges lay ahead. But one thing was certain. Their journey into the mysteries of the stars had just taken a new turn, and humanity had found a new ally, one who held the key to a lost chapter in the history of the galaxy. The days following their first communication with Lyra were filled with anticipation and confusion. The alien, though small and fragile, had opened the door to an entire mystery, one that the human crew had no choice but to delve into. They gathered in the ship's briefing room, a sense of urgency in the air. Commander Ryan Miller stood at the head of the table, his arms crossed as he addressed the crew. "We've learned that Lyra's species is the last of their kind, and they've been in stasis for centuries. But something doesn't add up. If they were so advanced, how did they fall? And why was she left behind?" Dr. Lena Williams, the archaeologist, adjusted her glasses. "We have so many questions. From the symbols in the ruins to Lyra's own words, it's clear that something catastrophic happened. But we still don't know what that event was. We need to understand what happened to her people before we can move forward." Lyra sat quietly in the corner of the room, her eyes wide but filled with curiosity as she listened. Though she had begun to adjust to her new surroundings, the alien's past still haunted her. She was reluctant to share too much, but the humans could see that she was desperate for answers, just as they were. "We need to know more about this planet," Commander Miller continued, glancing at Lieutenant Sarah Barnes. "What can you tell us about Veric 7? We've barely scratched the surface of what's here." Barnes, the ship's engineer, pulled up a holographic map of the planet. "Veric 7 is mostly uninhabited, as we already know, but there are several strange energy readings coming from various points on the surface. It's possible that these are relics of the alien civilization, or maybe something even more dangerous." Lena leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "Can we access these locations? If the energy is related to their technology, it could lead us to the answers we're looking for." Barnes nodded, tapping a few commands into the map. There are 3 key sites we could explore. One is a massive structure located deep within a canyon to the east. Another is a buried city in the northern ice fields. And the third, well, it's something I'm still trying to figure out. There's a signal coming from beneath the surface, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Commander Miller looked at the map and then back at Lyra. What do you know about these places? He asked gently. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Lyra looked down, her expression growing somber. I know of the canyon, she said quietly. It was once a place of power, the heart of our civilization. But it was also the beginning of the end. Something happened there. It is dangerous. The room fell silent. The tension was palpable as everyone absorbed her words. It was clear that the canyon held the answers they were searching for, but it also seemed to be the source of the alien race's downfall. We have to go, Lena said, her voice filled with determination. The answers are there, and we need to know what caused the collapse of their civilization. We can't leave without understanding what happened. Commander Miller hesitated. He didn't want to put his crew at risk, but he knew that their mission could change everything. All right, he said finally. We'll head to the canyon, but we'll proceed with caution. If Lyra says it's dangerous, then we need to be prepared for anything. The crew began preparations, gathering their gear and ensuring their equipment was in working order. Lyra, though still fragile, insisted on accompanying them. She claimed to know the way and seemed to be determined to face the past head-on. As they made their way across the rugged terrain of Veric 7, the canyon came into view. The landscape around them shifted, from rocky outcrops to smooth, barren fields. The atmosphere felt charged, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. They could see the deep chasm in the distance, a massive scar in the planet's surface. Lyra led the way, walking with a sense of purpose that surprised the crew. Her small form moved with an elegance that seemed to defy her fragile appearance. She never looked back, as though the past was something she had to confront alone. As they reached the entrance to the canyon, the crew could feel the shift in the air. The ground beneath their feet felt different, almost alive with energy. The walls of the canyon were covered in the same strange symbols they had seen in the ruins, but this time they were more prominent, glowing faintly in the dim light. This is it, Lyra said, her voice steady but tinged with fear. The heart of our civilization. But it's not just a place, it's a warning. The group stepped cautiously into the canyon, their footsteps echoing off the walls. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy readings became. It wasn't just a power source, it felt like something was watching them. Every step seemed to be taking them further into the unknown. Lena looked around, her eyes scanning the surroundings. What happened here, Lyra? She asked, trying to understand the significance of the place. Lyra paused and turned to face them. Her expression was filled with sorrow and regret. We were a proud race, advanced in ways you cannot yet understand. But we became arrogant. We sought power beyond our control, and we paid the price. This place, it holds the key to everything. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Whatever lay ahead, they knew they were about to uncover something that would change the course of history. They were standing on the precipice of a long-forgotten truth, one that would reveal the reason for the downfall of an entire civilization, and perhaps the key to saving the future. The canyon walls seemed to close in around the crew as they ventured deeper. The further they walked, the stronger the energy readings grew, pulsing like a heartbeat deep beneath the ground. The air felt thick with the weight of forgotten history, and the once quiet atmosphere now hummed with an eerie tension. Lyra led the way, her steps measured and deliberate. Despite her fragile appearance, she moved with purpose, as though the path ahead held more than just answers. It held a personal reckoning. The rest of the crew followed closely behind, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. The symbols on the canyon walls grew more intricate as they descended, glowing faintly with a light that seemed to pulse in time with their own footsteps. The further they went, the more Lena could feel the history of this place pressing against her. She had studied ancient civilizations all her life, but nothing prepared her for the weight of the ruins before her. "This place feels alive," she said quietly, mostly to herself. "It's like it's been waiting for us." Commander Miller, ever the realist, kept his eyes forward, though he couldn't help but agree. "Keep your guard up. We don't know what's waiting for us down here." Lyra turned back to them, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. "The heart of our civilization was here. This is where we reached for the stars. But it is also where we fell." "What happened?" Lena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had taken place here was far more dangerous than they could imagine. Lyra paused for a moment, as though gathering the strength to speak. "We sought power beyond our understanding," she said. "We thought we were invincible, but we were wrong. We unleashed something that should have never been disturbed." As they walked deeper, the walls began to widen, revealing a vast underground chamber. The chamber was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Towering columns stretched high into the darkness, their surfaces etched with more of the glowing symbols. In the center of the room was a massive structure, resembling a giant, pulsating heart made of crystal. It seemed to be the source of the energy they had been tracking, radiating power like a living thing. Lena stepped forward, her eyes wide with awe. This is incredible. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." Lyra's face grew pale as she stepped closer to the structure, her small hands trembling slightly. "This is where it began. We used this power to fuel our civilization, to build our cities, to travel the stars. But we didn't understand the cost." Commander Miller glanced at the structure, his mind racing. "You said you unleashed something. What was it? What did you release?" Lyra hesitated, the weight of the memories too heavy for her to carry alone. "We called it the essence. It was the source of all our power, a being of unimaginable energy. But we didn't realize that it wasn't just energy. It was something alive, something ancient, and when we tried to control it, it fought back." Lena's heart sank as she realized the magnitude of what Lyra was saying. "You accidentally created a weapon of mass destruction." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, and it wiped out everything we had built. The essence didn't just destroy our cities, it consumed us. It took our people, one by one, until only a few remained. We tried to seal it away, but it wasn't enough." The crew exchanged worried glances. If what Lyra said was true, they were standing in the very place where an ancient and powerful force had decimated an entire civilization. And now, they were far too close to it. "We need to get out of here," Commander Miller said urgently. "If the essence is still here, if it's alive, we need to leave before it awakens." Lyra shook her head, her voice filled with sorrow. "It's too late for that. The essence is always awake. It doesn't need to sleep." A sudden pulse of energy shot through the room, sending a jolt of fear through the crew. The heart-shaped structure before them shimmered and flickered, as though something inside was stirring. "What's happening?" Lena gasped, stepping back. The energy in the chamber grew more intense, crackling in the air like a storm waiting to break. The walls of the cavern seemed to tremble, and a low, humming sound reverberated through the room. The essence, or whatever remained of it, was reacting to their presence. Lyra's face twisted in agony as she whispered, "It's calling to me. It remembers me. It knows I'm here." Commander Miller motioned for everyone to fall back. "Get to the surface. Now." The crew turned and sprinted toward the entrance of the chamber, their footsteps echoing through the dark hallways. Behind them, the pulsing energy intensified, the very ground beneath their feet shaking with increasing force. They didn't know how much time they had before the essence fully awakened, but they couldn't afford to wait. As they reached the surface, the sky above them seemed darker, as though the planet itself was reacting to the energy below. The once peaceful landscape was now filled with an unnatural tension, and the crew knew that they had uncovered a power far beyond anything they could control. Lyra stood at the edge of the canyon, her small frame trembling as she looked back toward the ruins. "I failed," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We all failed." Dr. Williams placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "No, you're here now, and we're not giving up. We'll figure this out." But as the crew looked at the ominous structure in the distance, they couldn't shake the feeling that the true challenge was only just beginning. The essence was still alive, and it wasn't finished with them yet. The crew stood at the edge of the canyon, their breaths shallow, eyes fixed on the darkened horizon where the ruins lay. The strange hum from deep within the planet still echoed in their ears, a constant reminder of the ancient power they had just disturbed. Lyra, the last of her people, seemed almost smaller now, her fragile body hunched as if carrying the weight of an entire civilization's fall. Commander Ryan Miller was the first to break the silence. His voice was calm, but the unease was clear. "We can't stay here. If what Lyra said is true, we've already disturbed something that was better left untouched." Lena Williams, the team's archaeologist, was still trying to wrap her mind around everything they'd seen. "But we need to understand it," she said. "The essence is more than just an energy source. It's something alive. We have to find a way to stop it before it destroys everything." Lyra looked up at them, her eyes filled with grief. "I never wanted you to uncover this. My people tried to forget what we did. The essence was never meant to be controlled. We should have left it buried." "What exactly happens if the essence is unleashed?" Commander Miller asked, his tone serious. "We need to know what we're up against." Lyra hesitated, staring into the distance. "The essence doesn't just destroy, it consumes. It feeds off of energy. It spreads, taking everything in its path. It will keep growing, feeding on the life force of everything around it. It's insatiable." The crew exchanged worried glances. It was worse than they had feared. If the essence had already begun to stir, it might already be too late. Lena was the first to speak again. "We need to find the core of the essence. If we can disable it at its source, maybe we can stop it from spreading. But how do we get close enough?" "Getting near it is dangerous," Lyra warned. "When I was younger, my people tried to approach it again. Many didn't return. Some of us were able to contain it for a while, but I fear that time has passed." As the team discussed their next move, the planet itself seemed to react to the increasing power below. The ground vibrated beneath their feet, and the wind howled as if carrying an invisible force. The sky grew darker, and the air became thick with an unsettling energy. It felt as though the planet was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. "There's no time to waste," Commander Miller said, shaking his head. "We have to act quickly. If this thing is still growing, we'll have to stop it before it spreads beyond this planet." Lena turned to the team's engineer, Lieutenant Sarah Barnes. "What's the situation with the ship? Is there any way we can use it to our advantage?" Barnes had been busy running calculations on her console, her face tense with concentration. "We have enough resources to get closer to the ruins and gather more data, but the ship's systems won't be able to handle the energy levels down there. The essence's power is unlike anything we've encountered." "Then we'll have to go on foot," Miller decided, his voice firm. "We'll need to get closer to the source of the essence. We can't risk letting this thing get out of control." The team prepared for the dangerous trek back to the canyon, knowing that they couldn't afford to waste any more time. The planet seemed to pulse with a dark energy, the very ground under their feet shifting and trembling with every step. The air was thick with the same electric charge that had filled the ruins, and Lyra, despite her usual calm demeanor, seemed increasingly nervous. As they approached the entrance to the canyon, a sudden shift in the atmosphere made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. The once distant hum grew louder, a low, vibrating sound that seemed to come from deep within the core of the planet. It felt like the essence was awake now, aware of their presence. "We're getting closer," Lena said, adjusting her equipment. "I can feel it. The power is rising." "Stay alert," Miller ordered. We don't know what we'll find this time. The crew made their way into the canyon once more, the walls towering above them. As they descended deeper, the symbols that had glowed faintly before were now brighter, pulsing with an almost unnatural intensity. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy became, and the air grew heavy, like walking through a storm. At the center of the canyon, the massive crystal structure loomed ahead, the source of the essence's power. It was more imposing than before, shimmering with an unnatural light, its pulsations becoming faster and stronger. Lyra stopped in her tracks, her eyes wide. It's feeding. It's feeding off our presence. We have to stop it before it becomes too strong. What do we do? Lena asked, trying to hold on to her composure despite the rising fear. How do we stop this thing? I don't know, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. When we tried to contain it, we used a special device, something that could block its energy flow. But it was destroyed. I don't think anything we have can do the same now. Commander Miller looked at the structure ahead, knowing they didn't have much time. The essence was far more powerful than they had expected, and each second they spent here only made it stronger. We're going to have to find a way to sever the link between the essence and the planet, he said firmly. If we don't, we'll be too late. The team made their way closer to the heart of the ruins, every step bringing them closer to the growing power of the essence. But the danger was clear. If they didn't find a solution, they would become part of the essence's dark legacy. And this time, they might not be able to escape. The air grew heavier with each step as the crew neared the glowing crystal structure. The energy from the essence radiated out like a thick fog, making it difficult to think clearly. Lena could feel her mind clouding with every breath, as if the very air was trying to pull them into the heart of the storm. They were close, dangerously close, to the power that had destroyed an entire civilization. And now it was awake, and it was feeding. Lyra, who had once seemed so fragile, now stood at the front, her eyes locked on the pulsating crystal. Her face was a mask of determination, but there was also an unmistakable hint of fear. It was as though the essence had a personal connection to her, something ancient and tragic. We have to move quickly, Commander Miller said, his voice low. The longer we stay here, the stronger it gets. We can't afford to wait. Lena nodded, her mind racing. We need to find a way to stop it from feeding. If we can cut off its connection to the planet, we might have a chance. Cut off its connection? Barnes asked, adjusting her gear. How do we do that? We don't have the technology to block something like this. It's alive. I don't know, Lena replied, her voice tinged with frustration. But we have to try something. We've got one shot at this. As they moved closer to the center of the chamber, Lena's thoughts kept returning to Lyra. The young alien had been through so much, and yet she was still here, still standing strong. Lena couldn't help but wonder what the essence had meant to Lyra's people. Was it a blessing, a curse, or both? Lyra suddenly spoke, her voice almost a whisper. I was a child when the essence was first awakened. I remember the fear, the screaming. My people thought they could control it, use it to become invincible. But the essence doesn't work that way. It doesn't care about control. It only cares about feeding. Miller turned to face her, his expression hard but understanding. And you think it still recognizes you. That's why it's stronger when you're near it. Lyra nodded slowly. It remembers me. It knows what I am, what I was. It's drawn to me. The group fell silent as they approached the heart of the ruins. The crystal structure now loomed over them, its energy so powerful it seemed to hum in the very ground beneath their feet. The air was thick with electricity, and Lena's hair stood on end. They had reached the source of the terror that had destroyed a civilization, and now they were standing at its doorstep, with no clear way to stop it. Barnes moved forward, her hands shaking as she analyzed the structure with her portable scanner. I'm picking up unusual readings. It's like the entire planet is resonating with this thing. It's not just energy. It's a signal. A call. A call. Lena asked, her voice rising in alarm. To who? Barnes didn't have an answer, but her silence was enough. The essence was more than just an energy source. It was a beacon calling out to something or someone. That realization sent a chill through Lena's spine. They had been foolish to think they were alone in this. Lyra's voice broke through the growing tension. We need to stop it before it calls for help. If it does, we'll be the ones consumed. We have to sever the connection. There's a way to do it. I know there is. Miller's eyes locked onto the structure as the energy readings became more intense. The pulsations were speeding up, the ground trembling beneath their feet. What's the plan, Lyra? He asked, his voice urgent. Lyra took a deep breath, stepping closer to the structure. Her small hands reached out as if she was trying to touch it, but she hesitated. I can feel the essence, she whispered. It's alive, but it's also dying. My people created it, but we never understood it. It needs life to survive. The more it feeds, the stronger it gets. She paused, looking at the group. I think I can reach it. There's a way to communicate with it, to stop it. But it's dangerous. If I fail, it will take me, and all of you with me. Lena's heart sank. Lyra, we can't ask you to do that. Lyra's eyes met hers, filled with both determination and sadness. You don't have a choice. If I don't do this, the essence will destroy everything. It won't stop. But if I can reach it, I can sever its connection to this planet. I can stop it from feeding. Miller stepped forward, his expression serious. You're sure about this? There's no other way. Lyra nodded, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. I have to do this. My people failed, but I can fix it. I can make it right. As the crew stood there, the rumbling from the planet grew louder, the structure pulsing faster, its energy building toward an explosive climax. They were running out of time. The essence had reached its peak, and without a way to stop it, everything they had fought for, everything they had hoped to achieve, would be lost. Miller exchanged a glance with Lena and Barnes. There was no easy way out. They were out of options. Then let's do this, Miller said. We'll be with you, Lyra, whatever happens. Lyra took a deep breath, closing her eyes. She stepped closer to the glowing crystal, her hand hovering just inches from its surface. The room hummed with power, and the air grew thick with anticipation. The crew watched, holding their breath, knowing that the fate of an entire world rested on this moment. The essence had awakened, and now Lyra was their last hope. The chamber was silent, the air still and heavy with anticipation. The glowing crystal before Lyra pulsed with a deep, rhythmic hum, its energy swirling around her like a storm. She stood there, her hand extended toward it, her eyes closed in concentration. The crew watched from a distance, anxiety etched across their faces. They could feel the immense power radiating from the essence, and they knew this was the final moment. Lena's heart pounded in her chest as she looked at Lyra. The young alien girl had come so far, carrying the weight of an entire civilization's history and mistakes. Now, she was their only hope, but the risk was unimaginable. Lyra had said that if she failed, the essence would take her, and perhaps everyone with her. We're with you, Lyra, Lena whispered under her breath. She wasn't sure if the girl could hear her, but it didn't matter. Her words were for herself as much as for Lyra. Lyra took a deep breath and focused. She could feel the essence reaching out to her, sensing her presence, pulling at her very soul. It knew her. She was tied to it in ways that no one else could understand. Her people had created it, worshipped it, and ultimately it had destroyed them. But now she was determined to be its undoing. Her voice was barely audible, but the crew could hear the words. I can feel it. It's waiting for me. It wants me to join it. Her hand trembled slightly, but she held it steady, inching closer to the crystal's surface. But I won't let it. Commander Miller stepped forward, his voice firm. Lyra, You don't have to do this alone. We'll support you." Lyra shook her head, her voice steady but filled with sorrow. "No, this is something I have to do. My people failed. They didn't understand what they were creating. But I can stop it. I can end it. I just need to reach it, to sever its hold." Lina stepped forward as well, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "We believe in you. You're not alone." The energy around them seemed to grow stronger, more intense. It was as if the essence was aware of the growing determination in Lyra's heart. The air crackled with power, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. The creature that had once been a gift to her people was now a threat to everything. Lyra's eyes opened slowly, and for the first time, the crew saw something different in them. They weren't filled with fear or uncertainty. Instead, they were filled with a deep, unwavering resolve. She understood the cost, but she also understood the stakes. "I have to go inside it," Lyra said quietly. "It won't let me sever the connection from the outside. I have to go where it lives, where it feeds, and take its power from within." Barnes, who had been standing quietly beside Lina, finally spoke up. "Isn't there another way? We don't know what will happen to you if you do that." "I don't have a choice," Lyra replied, her voice steady. "The essence is connected to me. It's been feeding on me for years, and now it's time for me to cut it off. For good. This is the only way." Lina could see the pain in Lyra's eyes, but also the strength. The girl had come to terms with her fate. She wasn't afraid anymore. And that made Lina realize that, for all their strength, humans still had much to learn from the alien girl. Lyra's hand reached out, making contact with the crystal. The entire chamber shook as a surge of energy shot through her arm. Her body jerked, and she gasped in pain, but she didn't let go. Instead, she closed her eyes and focused all of her will into the task at hand. The essence tried to pull her in, but she fought it, her strength growing with every passing second. The glowing crystal flickered, its energy waning as Lyra fought to sever the connection. The ground cracked beneath their feet, and the chamber's walls began to crumble, but still, Lyra held on. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash of light, and the air around them exploded with a deafening roar. The crew shielded their eyes, unable to see what was happening, but they could feel the immense pressure. The battle between Lyra and the essence. Time seemed to slow down, and for a moment, everything around them disappeared into a blur of light and sound. When the light finally faded, the chamber was eerily quiet. The energy that had once filled the room was gone, replaced by an unnatural stillness. Lina slowly opened her eyes, her heart racing. Lyra stood there, breathing heavily, her body covered in sweat. Her hand was still on the crystal, but the glow had dimmed. The power that had once surged through it was gone. She had done it. She had severed the connection. The crew slowly gathered around her, relief flooding their hearts. Commander Miller was the first to speak, his voice filled with awe. "You did it, Lyra. You saved us all." Lyra nodded, her face pale but serene. "It's over. The essence won't feed anymore." Barnes smiled, though her eyes were filled with tears. "You saved us, Lyra. You saved the entire planet." Lina stepped forward, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You're more than a hero. You're the last hope for your people, and you gave them something they could never have imagined. A second chance." Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the weight of everything she had done. "I didn't do it for them. I did it for all of us." With the essence finally defeated, Lyra had given both her people and the crew a chance to rebuild, to move forward. It wasn't just the end of the essence's reign. It was the beginning of something new, something full of hope. And as the stars above the planet twinkled brightly, it was clear that Lyra's sacrifice would never be forgotten.